Hello and welcome to Live Relationship Advice Podcast with Shane and Elaine. Coming to you from the Lone Star State of Texas, I'm Shane Moore with Elaine Burnham. We'll be here for the next 2 hours, taking your questions, comments, and personal experiences via our live chat. Tonight's topic is the mind of Nikola Tesla, misunderstood genius. Tonight we'll discuss probably the most intelligent mind ever, Nikola Tesla. We will discuss how his mind worked, his mental processes, his habits, secrets, and what he said that makes sense, and some of the things that seemingly doesn't make much sense, but we'll try to read between the lines. Basically, we'll be discussing the fine line between genius and madness, the link between genius and insanity. We'll take a short break and allow listeners who want to join our live chat to do so. We'll be back in 3 minutes. See you then.
I don't cross my T's, I don't dot my I's, I won't say pretty please, or speaking little white lies. I've got a rebel soul, I've got a rebel soul, I've got a rebel soul, I've got a rebel soul. Oh, just get down with it, down with it, down with it, just get down. I ain't no thing that you can chain with a ring, and I ain't no price for admiring eyes. I've got a rebel soul, I've got a rebel soul, I've got a rebel soul, I've got a rebel soul. Just get down with it, down with it, down with it, just get down. I can be good when I wanna, I just don't wanna. I can be good when I wanna, I just don't wanna. I can be a good girl when I wanna, I just don't wanna. I can be good, but no, I got a rebel soul. Hey, I've got a rebel soul. I got a rebel soul. Yeah, I've got a rebel soul. Hey, down with it, my rebel soul. Down with it, my rebel soul. Down with it, my rebel soul. Down with it, down with it, down with it. Just get down with it, down with it, down with it. Just get down with it, down with it, down with it, down with it, down. I've got a rebel soul.
And we're back. Anyway, that song Rebel Soul, Tesla was a rebel, and those that are like him, that have that mindset on, of course he was completely different. I mean, he wasn't out for himself. He was out to give free energy to the world, and so he was a different kind of rebel, but was definitely a revolutionary. Hey, Mona, Elaine, welcome. Elaine, are you there? Okay. Okay. So we will discuss tonight the link or the fine line between madness, insanity, and genius, whatever line you want to. If you want to term that as a line or a state of mind or whatever, Tesla very clearly showed signs of, I don't know, most would say dementia, but with him that was pretty much a lifelong thing because he was so far advanced. I mean, as far as his thinking and imagination, and I mean, he was way beyond his time. I mean, he talked about cell phones. Described cell phones. He didn't, of course, name, call them cell phones, but he said that there would be, small devices that people would hold in their hands, and it would link them across the world. And he's the father of wireless technology. There was this article. MIT students they managed to send power 7 feet. And they were excited about that. Well, over 100 years ago, Tesla sent power, much more power, 26 miles, and lit up 200 light bulbs 26 miles away. I mean, this guy was way beyond his time. Could hold the light bulb in his hand and, the thing light up from the power from the electricity that he had built up in his body. He was really something, and it's very interesting how his life came about. He was born during a severe thunderstorm and lightning and everything. So I think that had something to do with him and his. He was just fascinated with electricity and sure changed the course of history and each and every one of our lives. He worked for a short time for Thomas Edison, and of course that didn't go so well. We'll talk about that, but it's really shocking that so many people have never heard of Tesla. Like in schools, they teach about Thomas Edison. Tesla's not mentioned. It's because I think it's because Edison was an American, and Tesla was an immigrant from Serbia, Croatia, and it's just it's very sad that that he gave so much, and yet yesterday was the date that he died, January 7th, 1943. In a hotel room in New York. And yes, big rivalry between the two. It's that Thomas Edison couldn't stand that that the younger Tesla was much more intelligent, was more of an inventor than Edison ever thought about being. Edison was more of a he was he knew how to market things, such as power, electricity, to people. That was his genius, was marketing, presenting something in such a way that people would, go crazy over it. But there's a mindset there's a wrong mindset that he had, and you're right, it was jealousy. He was a narcissist. I mean, he wanted to be the best at everything and could not stand for anyone in any area to be better than him. Now that is a recipe for a very unhappy life, a miserable life. And Tesla was clearly the expert inventor. He could do equations and calculus in his head. He didn't need any. He didn't need any pencil and paper. He didn't need anything. Calculator. He did it in his head. I mean, the guy was damn near like extraterrestrial. I mean, he just was not your average person. Even the geniuses and those that were considered unusual, they looked at him as something different. And it's one reporter asked Albert Einstein, "How does it feel to be the most intelligent person on Earth?" And he says, "I don't know. You'll have to ask Nikola Tesla." Kudos to Einstein, because that's true. I mean, Tesla was not about materialism. He wasn't about the money. He was about seemingly just giving everything, just doing the work and giving everything away. He was asexual, and he was celibate his entire life. Now, with that being said, he said that that being celibate helped him focus, and it helped his mental clarity, to where most people, it would do just the opposite. You want to talk about insanity? People would go crazy if there was not that, if that sexual desire was not met. But he somehow somehow made that work for him, being celibate. And I believe it was Westinghouse, or I'll have to check, but it was one of the richest men in the world at that time. His daughter was absolutely in love with Tesla, and she would have married Tesla in a heartbeat, and he just wouldn't do it. He was all about work, all about research, and so Einstein was a ladies' man. I mean, and cheated on his wife, just like nobody's business. I mean, so Tesla was not just a genius, but he was a true gentleman. I mean, he didn't. Well, I would say he didn't run around with his wife, but he never married. So he's an enigma. I mean, he is just it's very interesting to talk about and discuss the different aspects of a person like this, because you have to ask yourself, how can someone reach a state of intelligence, clarity, focus, to where they can take and literally invent in their mind a very intricate engine or something that's mechanical with all these different pieces, cogs and wheels and pulleys and different things. Tesla could build all of this in his mind, piece by piece, put it all together in his mind, and then build it in the real world. Exactly. It's like his mind was a 3D printer with instructions. So, but what happened is that when J.P. Morgan and Westinghouse and who's the other guy? I have the article right here. Well, we'll just go on. There were three. Rockefeller. When they found out that he had plans to provide free energy to the world, not just the United States, but to the world, they pulled all their funding from him. And since they owned the media, the newspapers of the day, they started smear campaigns, which affected him deeply, hurt him deeply. So, in the movie, I'm sure some of you have seen it. What's the movie? It's got Michael Caine, Christian Bale, Hugh Jackman. It's about the magicians, and a very good movie. And I will get the name of it in just a minute. Or Lane, if you could do like a Google search, please, or Mona, on that movie. Thank you. I kind of knew you were. You're just that good. Michael Caine, Christian Bale, Hugh Jackman, great movie. And David Bowie plays Tesla. And he says tells the Hugh Jackman character, he says you have to understand, he said, the world only sustains or greets the prestige. Thank you. Yes, the prestige. You need to watch that if you haven't seen it. It is amazing. And Tesla, in the movie says the world only accepts one revolutionary, one visionary per lifetime. In a lifetime. And that's I don't know if that's a direct quote from Tesla, but it very well could be, because it's like, damn, that's true. I mean, if you think about it, that's true. Tesla wasn't accepted, but Einstein was. And Tesla was the brighter one by far. Even Einstein admitted that. So they burned down his laboratory in Colorado Springs and stopped, funding on his Wardenclyffe laboratory in Manhattan. The guy was left. I think he died at the age of 86. He was left alone. The company that he kept was pigeons. And we're talking probably the greatest mind that has ever existed, and I mean ever, beyond any genius that you can think of, ancient past or whatever. I mean, Tesla was it. And his net worth when he died in 1943 was $1,000. $1,000 is what his net worth. But he said, and this is just a loose quote, but he said, I don't care about the present is theirs. He said, what I have worked for is the future, and the future is mine. Well, look at us today. Everything is wireless. Everything, everything's going wireless. We have we've got 4G, now 5G coming, which is frightening. And Tesla talked about sending electricity, sending energy to any place on the earth that he wanted, and but it was his nature to go above and beyond. And when I say above and beyond, I'm talking. He said, and not only that, but I can send it to other planets. And they're like, "Whoa, is he serious?" Well, he was. He's like, "Yeah, I can do that," and the guy's amazing. But let me just read a short bio on Tesla. And we'll get started. It says Tesla was born in 1856. A Serb inside Croatia who became a naturalized American, therefore a man of no real country, and given life at the crack of midnight, so also of neither the present nor the future. He never really fitted in. He was a man of pyrotechnic intelligence, a genius comparable with Einstein, Marconi, or Edison, all of whom he berated and belittled, but he also lacked social skills and strategies. He was stumblingly awkward with all women and most men. He was mad, too, a word which is appropriate for anyone who, for relaxation, shoots 150 volts through his own brain. He was planning to boost the power up to 1,000,000 volts, but died before advances in his technology could get him there. He did not trust medicines. A self-administered electrocution was all the therapy he seemed to need. So that tells you there that that he very much seemed like he wasn't of this world. He never really fit in. He was a genius, and that's an understatement. But as far as social skills, social strategies, as far as just one-on-one conversation with women or men, he seemed to fail. He just couldn't do it. It's like he was here for one reason and one reason only, and that was to help people, And so this is the first time that I've read about I knew that he that he almost died and had what he called was an out-of-body experience, and we'll talk about that later. But I never knew that he purposefully ran that much voltage through his body. I knew that he did some, but I didn't know it was that much. And then it says, Tesla was eccentric in other ways. He always dressed formally, as if going to the opera, walked with dignity, hands clasped behind his back, then went to feed the pigeons in the park. He loved the pigeons, knew them by the affectionate little names he made up for them, invited them back to his suite of rooms at the Waldorf Astoria, creating a constant noise and pong that drove other wealthy guests to distraction. Distances, house numbers, hotel rooms, he would have nothing to do with them if the number was not divisible by 3. He was terrified of germs and would never touch another human. He greeted people with a polite bow, his gray-gloved hands folded behind his back. Throughout Tesla's life, his weird behavior and inventive genius competed not only as career opposites, but in the way he treated other people. And that's what we're talking about on the relationship podcast, is his relationship to basically the world. He made fortunes with his inventions, but lost the money repeatedly by giving away his patents, or forgetting to renew them, or simply by falling out with his patrons. Many benefactors, sensing the seemingly unstableness of his scientific mind, did over time come up with sponsorship, loans, or donations. He lived rent-free for years at the Waldorf Astoria. Then his patron, John Jacob Astor, died in the Titanic, and the new owners of the hotel threw Tesla out, demanding 3 years back rent. He was unquestionably brilliant. It was the generation and transmission of the alternating current, electricity, AC current, that made his name and first fortune, but also his big falling out, this time with the heroic American figure of Thomas Edison. Edison had pioneered the direct current, but DC was not powerful and either had to be generated locally or required booster stations. DC was private enterprise, a generator sold to every wealthy home or street, whereas Tesla's AC was democratic, pro bono, for everyone. Edison's attempt at lighting New York skyscrapers meant every few floors had to have a heat-emitting, noisy substation. Tesla generated his more muscular AC from a central power station so that an entire multi-story building could be lit from one source. Whole blocks of skyscrapers glowing in the night became possible, a symbol of emerging American technological might. There's the rivalry that you mentioned, Elaine, between Tesla and Edison, and that in itself is a topic of, well, is a rivalry that we can definitely talk about on another episode between Tesla and Edison, because we've all been there with somebody that's jealous and doesn't feel like they're getting enough of the limelight, and that can be very uncomfortable, to say the least. Anyway, although he patented many new devices, some of them as yet still not built and tested, 75 years after his death, he dreamed of many more. He foresaw X-rays, electroconvulsive therapy, transmission of electrical energy through the atmosphere, radio transmitters, and wireless technology. Also splitting the atom, radar and television, laser beams, radio-guided boats, submarines, jet engines, the internet, mobile phones, even the smart watch. He was too far ahead of his time. So, Elaine, okay, you say, indeed, and there are similarities with Sir Isaac Newton too. Yeah, exactly. Many people say that Isaac Newton and Tesla were both bipolar and suffered from OCD, severe OCD, and that very well might be the case. I mean,
Yeah, some of the things that I've read is, of course, MBTI, Myers-Briggs personality.
mm-hmm.
So he's an INTJ with his achievements. When you first look at him, you classify him as an INTJ. And who else is INTJ and highly intelligent in my life? That would be my middle son, who's always creating things, always an inventor. I mean, he has books. I'm not saying comparison to Tesla, but
Mm-hmm.
he has books going back 20 to 15. Now he's 26, so 10 years of books of inventions and stuff, ideas
Mm-hmm.
and everything. Anyway, but then he's classified as an ENTP. So he's, for those not familiar, it's the 16 personality profiles for Myers-Briggs. And if anybody can do, well, I'll put these in the chat room that I'm Myers-Briggs, it'll pop it right out. It's pretty impressive that you take. But he's classified as an ENTP, which is extroverted, intuitive, thinking, and perceiving.
Okay.
So I
Um,
think that's really interesting.
let's see. We're getting a lot of static with you for some reason. Have no idea why. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna see if.
I'll put the info in the room.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna see if this is better. Let me see. Oh, let me see if I can. Okay, Elaine, say something, and we'll see if that's if anything's improved. Okay. Okay. It says that there's a bad connection for some reason. I don't know. We'll end the call, and then you can call back, and we'll see if that fixes things. So, okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. We'll see if that fixes that. Thank you for letting me know. Anyway. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened, but it just said that there was a bad connection. I have no idea. So we'll let Rhonda call back when she's ready. Let's see. Rhonda, call the show, the show line, please. Yeah. So, okay. Anyway. Okay. But, okay, there's Lane there. I see her on the chat. So, anyway, that's strange. It's here, I'll send it to you. Okay, there you go, Elaine. Yeah. Okay. Okay. There she is. Hello?
Hello?
Okay, let us know if that's better. And if not, then I really don't know what we can do other than just do the chat, because it's shouldn't there's nothing on my end that's know what, Mona? I don't know what when you say no, I don't know what that means. Okay, lots of static. All right, what about now? Now, let's see, just talk, Elaine, and we'll try to, yeah. Okay, oh, okay, we'll just have to end the call. No, she says it's not better. We'll just have to end the call, and we'll just do it by chat. Uh, oh, wait. They said that, okay. Okay, what about now? I'm going to try to, okay. Okay, yeah. We'll just do it by chat, and then try to find out what the deal is with the, I have no idea. It was fine. The other night, nothing changed, so sorry about that, Elaine.
Mona, can you hear me? I'm like a faint sound in a deep tunnel.
Yeah, that makes no sense. Makes no sense. Shouldn't be. Okay, what about now? Barely. Okay. Oh, all right. We're just gonna have to end the call. Sorry about that. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Apologize about that. I have no idea what the deal is. It just said there was a bad connection. And it's okay. You say 1 in 10. You're a 1 in sound. Are you talking about Elaine or myself? Yeah, that's very strange. Hmm. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, she's going to take part in the chat. We're just not going to not going to put people through that torture of all the static and everything if it's that bad. I can't hear any static, so I have no idea what the deal is, but I will find out. It might be Skype. I run the calls through a Skype number, so it could be Skype. I have a problem with Skype, so who knows? But anyway, Tesla. It says there's two tantalizing afterthoughts concerning Tesla. One is a delicious conspiracy theory in which a Tesla associate was recruited by Hitler and returned to the U.S. to kill Tesla. The plot failed, but the would-be assassin changed his name. Oh, this is crazy. Yeah. It's there's conspiracy theories that the Bushes, that everybody and their mother had something to do with Tesla's death. Keep in mind he was 86. I think that when someone dies at 86 years of age, it's not a real stunner, that they died. I'm not making fun of the fact that he died, but I'm just saying that, life lived. It happens. Anyway, so with that being said, what are your thoughts on Tesla as far as, or people that you may have known or that you may know that are, shall we say, different or kind of Tesla, you say MBTI for those that are interested, personality test.info /NIKO. Says that there's 10 uncomfortable truths about Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla, according to legend, was a mad genius who almost never got the credit he deserved in the money-hungry world of science. It is easy to argue that Tesla didn't make it further because he was so eccentric. He hated everything, suffered from severe obsessive-compulsive disorder, and might have been autistic. The truth, however, is far simpler. Many of his ideas just weren't viable. Although many people would like to believe otherwise, Tesla was far from perfect. Well, I've never said Tesla was perfect. No one's perfect. We all have our flaws, and that's just how it is. I mean, it's often claimed that Tesla never needed to write anything down because he either had a photographic or eidetic memory. While scientists have not ruled out the claim, the researchers who have studied the phenomenon have admitted that they can't even prove its existence, although others have pointed out flaws in their methodologies. As a brilliant scientist and inventor, it's quite possible that Tesla had excellent visual memory, but it was never tested. In my opinion, why would it need to be tested? It seemed to serve him just fine. I mean, so I think that people get too caught up in the testing and the labels and wanting to label. That's why I don't believe in testing and I hate labels, titles, and all that. I mean, come on. If you have to have a title or label to somehow feel better about yourself, then there's something that's just not right. I mean, everybody, titles. Everybody has a title. So yeah, that just doesn't work for me personally. I could care less about if I receive a certain accolade or title or whatever. I don't know. It just never has mattered to me. I just don't need that. I guess I'm just a weirdo. I just never have cared about, being labeled. People say, well, what are you? Well, it all depends on the circumstances. Or, what do you do? Well, it all depends on the circumstances. As far as, that goes, what are your gifts or whatever? Well, I don't know. Stick around, maybe you'll find out. But, people that say, oh, you should take an IQ test. Really? Yeah, not interested. It's like, so I can feel better and, gloat, about myself if I score high. It's not gonna happen because I don't care about that. Oh, thank you, Zippy. Glad you are. Um, that's that's really good because that's why that I do the shows at late for people that do work, people that can't sleep or um, that. So, yep. A lot of people that work the night shift or suffer from insomnia or something like that. I certainly know how that is, on both accounts. So, but yeah, that's something that Tesla was not. Tesla didn't care about the labels and titles and accolades and attention. Um, he had no need. He was too busy doing the things that he was too busy doing it to worry about if he was getting enough attention or respect or whatever. Okay. It says it's certainly not true that he never needed to write anything down. Tesla kept notes on his inventions and ideas, many of which have survived to this day. Scientists were thrilled by the possibilities they might contain, but upon examination, these notebooks were found to be highly speculative and contain no useful scientific knowledge. Now, I just want to interject something here. This is just my opinion. They say the notebooks were found to be highly speculative and contain no useful scientific knowledge, according to them. What if there's knowledge there that transcends that goes far beyond their ability to comprehend it? Oh, they didn't think about that. So it's just junk. Because God forbid that anybody be more intelligent than today's scientists. Yeah, that's the kind of thinking that I hate. And yes, I use the word hate. I can't stand that you just so quick to say, yeah, it's junk, no useful knowledge here. Yeah, maybe it's just beyond your understanding. Okay, number 9. Tesla was highly irresponsible with money. Many people claim that Tesla died penniless, and some go so far as to say he always was. This is decreed as a great injustice against such a brilliant mind. The truth, much like the man himself, is a little more complicated. There is some evidence that he could have made more money if his patents had been secured better, or he had not been exploited by people like Thomas Edison. Tesla never cared much for the business aspect of his work, and even if he had made a fortune, he likely would have blown it. He had a reputation for spending large amounts of money. He lived in fancy hotels and sunk the rest of his money into increasingly ambitious and expensive projects. Researching, always working. He had a history of borrowing money from friends and getting evicted from those hotels. He would sometimes even leave some of his notebooks behind as collateral for the debt when he moved out. Tesla once commented on his poverty when the city tried to force him to pay a tax bill, admitting that he had no money and scores of other debts he owed. He explained that he had been living on credit at the Waldorf for several years. He had plenty of opportunities to pay off his debts and keep his patents from lapsing, but instead he maintained his lavish lifestyle until the day he died. But I mean, in all seriousness, I'm not taking up for Tesla, but I'm just saying, given what what he was willing to give freely to everybody. I mean, cut the guy a little slack. I mean, really? I mean, you're gonna. I just. And this is one thing that I had found in every time that I, have researched Tesla, is there's just there's this underlying animosity. You can't really describe it, but it's subtle. Some people they don't even notice it, but I'm telling you, it's there. It's there. Your thoughts, Elaine? I mean, your thoughts, Zippy, Mona, on what the hell this is? I mean, because it's like the guy could not catch a break from anybody, and they're all well, the people that are mentioned, his those that funded him and everything. He's they were, by today's standards, would be billionaires, if not trillionaires, and so they were doing much worse things. They had many worse flaws. So why does Tesla catch all this heat? No idea. But he does. He really does. But anyway, okay, Zippy. Well, you say I really don't know a ton about him, so this is more learning for me. Wow, you will absolutely love everything about Tesla. I mean, for me, it's I have always, for some reason, I've always kind of identified with him, and I'm reading these flaws, and it's like, oh man, not all of them, but some of them, yeah, is and I don't know why, but I just have, even as a kid. I mean, I read about him when I was a kid, and he was like my hero. And I went to school, and I was pretty shocked that nobody knew about him. So I told my friends about him and everything. And so at my school, or among my friends, at least they knew about Tesla, and yeah, so that's it's kind of a cool thing too. Anyway, let me find this. Let's see. Okay. Number 8, wild claims. Thanks to the Tesla revival, every absurd claim he made to newspapers back in the day is now being repeated as fact. The truth is that Tesla made many claims so far out of left field that they would destroy a scientist's credibility even today, even with no evidence or results to back them up. But if Tesla was crazy, he was crazy like a fox. Oftentimes his claims were reported shortly before the historical experiments of other scientists. For example, when Marconi was gearing up for some important radio signal tests, Tesla told the media that he had already received radio transmissions that he believed were from Mars. With his technology, he claimed he would soon be able to communicate with other planets almost instantaneously. Other projects he claimed to be working on included a torpedo that could be recalled even after being fired, and a powerful death ray.
As bizarre as these claims sounded, they gave the impression that Tesla was light years ahead of everyone else. The only thing I have to say about that is, you know, by all modern standards, by all evidence, he was pretty far ahead of everyone else. So give the man credit. Tesla certainly did contribute to our body of scientific knowledge. The plausibility of many of Tesla's inventions, this says, maybe, perhaps have been greatly exaggerated. I don't think so. I don't know. 7. Strange visions. Tesla's tall tales weren't confined to his inventions or supposed interactions with Martians. He also believed that he received a variety of important visions. The first occurred when he was walking in the park with a friend after suffering a nervous breakdown due to his constant lack of sleep. Tesla slept no more than 4 hours every night. And it was said that he suffered from anxiety, some say depression. There was something that was going on, within his, mental process, emotional process, whatever you want to call it. When I've seen pictures of, Tesla, and both as a young man and an old man, he always looked sad, especially when he was in his 40s. As he got older, it's like he just was just a very, very lonely, sad person. And maybe it's because he couldn't break away from his research. He was always on working in the laboratory, and if he wasn't, then he was working on equations, always seemingly chasing that next discovery, that next invention. So, nervous breakdown due to his insomnia. According to Tesla, he had a vision of the entire model for his AC motor and started drawing it in the dirt. Considering that he had already stated that he had been thinking about the idea for about 6 years, he probably wasn't being entirely truthful. His second vision occurred much later in life, involving his beloved pigeons. He claimed that he was alone in his hotel room one night when a white pigeon, for whom he harbored a particular great affection, came to see him. He was then suddenly blinded by 2 powerful beams of light that communicated to him that he had finished all of his life's work and would die soon. Okay, well, as weird as that sounds, as strange as that sounds, who's to say that didn't happen? Because he did die pretty soon after that. So, what's up, really, man, it's just... Anyway, insomnia and addiction to work, number 6. Tesla's visions could probably be more reasonably attributed to his lack of sleep than any mystical properties, is what this article says. He was known to be a workaholic to the point that any kind of rest was inconceivable. He claimed that he went to bed at 5 a.m. and rose only 5 hours later, and only 2 of those hours were spent sleeping. Once a year, he indulged himself and actually slept all 5 hours. He never stopped thinking about his work, even when he was snoozing. There's no doubt that Tesla's insomnia had a profound impact on his physical and psychological health for his entire life, but it's likely that its extent was another of his exaggerations. Again, I don't think so. Humans simply aren't capable of maintaining such a lack of sleep and remaining alive. Okay. Well, who knows? I mean, people say you have to have 8 hours of sleep every night or more. Uh, you know, if I sleep an entire 8 hours, it it brings me down rather than it does not energize me. It brings me down. So, oh man, if I sleep 8 hours, I'm done. It's just, ugh. It's like I have to climb back up um, to the regular um, 5 or 6 hours sleep each night, and that's what I do. And I'm in very good health. I just had a checkup last month, and the doctor said I was in perfect health. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Um, Says, however, it is possible that Tesla had simply deluded himself. The hotel employees who attended his room said they often found Tesla standing silently, apparently awake, but totally unaware of his surroundings. It's likely that he slept more than he realized, falling into these nap-like trances as a natural reaction to that level of sleep deprivation. So, you have to wonder, that's pretty creepy when you walk in and somebody's standing there and they're not aware of their surroundings, but you can't really tell if they're asleep or awake or what's going on. Who knows? Who knows what was going on in his mind? But when we come back, we will discuss more about Tesla and go through the other 5 strange things about the mind of Nikola Tesla. Be right back.
We try to rise from the dead. We came a long way from where we were. We trying not to get hurt.
And I am back. Anyway, we will finish this list here. Number 5, his contribution to radio. One of the most contentious issues with Tesla is his contribution to the invention of radio. For a long time, Marconi was considered the father of modern radio, but many have claimed recently that Tesla deserves the honor. After all, Tesla claimed that a whopping 17 of his patents were used in Marconi's device. It goes on to say that Tesla was too busy boasting to conduct any tests as far as radio, and I believe that a few years ago that was overturned, and Tesla was given the credit that he was due, but this article doesn't mention that. So, number 4, the Wardenclyffe Tower fiasco. Tesla's most ambitious project and his biggest failure was the Wardenclyffe Tower. He envisioned a gigantic tower that could transmit incredibly powerful amounts of electricity and wireless communication all around the globe. He asked for $1 million to fund the project, which is close to $30 million in today's money, in today's economy. However, the only major backer he secured was J.P. Morgan, who offered him $150,000, or about $4 million now. Morgan also wanted a stake in Tesla's patents, which indicates that he might not have had much faith in his investment. Once Tesla had his funding, he went straight to work. He purchased plots of land and hired laborers to build his tower, which consisted of 16 steel supports that went hundreds of feet into the earth. He intended to use the earth itself as a conductor and believed that the supports from his tower would grip the earth and make it quiver, even at those relatively shallow depths. He viewed the North Pole and South Pole as the positive and negative terminals, and viewed the earth as a large battery. When you think about it, it kind of makes sense. I mean, but he was going to do that and provide electricity power to the world at no charge. All they would have to have is a receiver, say in their backyard, to pick up the power, the signal, and with someone that is obviously very intelligent, to say the least, but they're eccentric too, very much so. Is that grounds to deem a person as insane or crazy, or are they just different? I mean, what constitutes crazy? For me, it's not crazy. It's different, but not crazy at all. It's certainly not boring. Certainly not boring at all. Anyway, let's see here. Okay, number 4. It says, the Wardenclyffe Tower planned to use the Earth as a conductor, shoot energy into the Earth's ionosphere. Okay, that's what HAARP does. HAARP in Alaska.
it shoots energy into the Earth's ionosphere. And HAARP is pretty recent. I mean, it's a pretty recent thing. If you want to look it up, look up HAARP. It's HAARP in Alaska, and read about that. So, if he talked about using the Earth as a conductor, shooting energy into the ionosphere, I wonder where HAARP got the idea. How HAARP came about. Makes you wonder. Anyway, it says that it's likely that no money in the world would have resulted in the finished product when its designer didn't even have a clear vision of his immense project. Man, they're really coming down with Tesla in this article. Number 3, Nobel Prize rumors. Among the strangest claims about the Tesla-Edison rivalry concern a contested Nobel Prize. The rumor, which was reported at the time by such esteemed publications as the New York Times, was that Tesla and Edison had been offered a joint Nobel Prize one year. Later rumors claimed that the prize was given to someone else because the two refused to share an award between them, and some even believe that Edison tried to sabotage both of their chances out of spite, which would not surprise me, having read about this. So, it said that this was not true because the Nobel Committee stated unequivocally that they would never withdraw an award just because the recipient refused it. Furthermore, both Edison and Tesla denied ever being given such an offer. So that was false. Number 2, popularity in his time. The modern mythology of Tesla rests on the belief that he was never given the funding he needed, never got the attention he deserved during his time, and suffered the injustice of a world that wasn't ready for his amazing genius. None of this could be further from the truth, is what this article says. While not every single idea of his was fully funded, which is true for most scientists at all levels of prestige, he received plenty of funding from rich donors. He received generous endowments. He received from household names like J.P. Morgan. Tesla was quite popular with the common man. He and Edison were both considered celebrity scientists in their day. It goes on to say that he, despite the popular conception of him today as a reclusive, misunderstood genius, Tesla was quite the showman. He was known to demonstrate his famous coil in front of excited crowds who lavished him with attention and support. And then, number 1, the earthquake machine myth. One of the claims most beloved by Tesla fans is that he built an earthquake machine. Unsurprisingly, there are many variations of this story, but they all contain some common elements. Generally, it is said that Tesla was working with some kind of resonance device when he decided to try it on his own building, which caused it and several other buildings in the area to shake. Afraid that he might end up leveled by his own invention, Tesla smashed his machine to pieces with a hammer just as the police arrived to find out what was going on. This story has been repeated many times, especially by Tesla himself, who claimed that his machine could split the earth like an apple if he so desired it. He went on to claim that he wasn't done experimenting with the machine, setting out one evening to see if he could use it to destroy a partially finished tower and fleeing during the panic he caused. However, there was no evidence in the news or any record anywhere to verify these wild stories. So, your thoughts? Was he genius or madman or misunderstood? Or maybe all three? I think that he, I think that he was a genius. I don't think he was crazy. I think that he knew how to well, it's like I said, he was a great showman. I think he knew how to gain people's attention. he certainly got that. And absolutely. So, and just like you said about your middle son, Elaine, being creative and keeping notes for 10 years. There's a lot of people that would say that was a bit crazy. I mean, I used to keep notes. Used to keep notes of all my ideas and theories, and now I keep them mentally or on my computer or my phone. But I used to write down everything, and people thought that was a bit crazy, And I say to each his own. Zippy, you say, I think it's a good mix, just crazy to those that don't understand or want his knowledge. Exactly. Exactly. That's the way I feel. Right. Anything to discredit another. Absolutely. Um, yeah, it's we can discredit him to build ourselves up, and I think that's exactly what they did. Um, anyway, Tesla was also said to have taken part in the Philadelphia experiment in 1940. I think it was 1942, or maybe it was 19. Well, it was 1942 because he died in 43. So, um, um, yeah, the that was quite a claim, the Philadelphia experiment. But we're talking about the mental processes and what Tesla did. One thing that I I've found over and over is that he would maybe not go into a trance, but he would certainly go into another state of maybe intense focus, intense relaxation, to where that it's like the people that walked into his room and saw him standing there and seemingly unaware of his surroundings. He was actually meditating and was focusing on his I guess his imagination. That's what they've often said, is that that's what drives. That's what drove Tesla. That's what drove Einstein, was imagination, which is very interesting. Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge, and well, I believe that that's the case, because it's imagination that drives us to, to go further and to seek these things out. Let's see. Anyway, it goes on to say that Tesla spoke 8 languages, and was fluent in 8 languages, that he did have a photographic memory, and that he had trained himself to visualize almost everything to a very astonishing degree. And I think that that's true. I mean, he exercised his mind all the time. Never let his, never took a rest. I mean, says that he did advanced calculus and physics equations in his head, memorized entire books at a time, and successfully pulled off scientific experiments that modern day technology still can't replicate. And then it goes to, for instance, in 2007, a group of lesser geniuses at MIT got all pumped up out of their minds because they wirelessly transmitted energy 7 feet through the air. Nikola Tesla once lit 200 light bulbs from a power source 26 miles away, and he did it in 1899 with a machine he built from spare parts in the middle of the godforsaken desert. To this day, nobody can really figure out how he pulled that off, because 2/3 of the schematics only existed in the dark recesses of Tesla's all-powerful brain. Now that's okay, Elaine. A little drama with your fur babies, huh? Tigger escaped. So that's amazing. That he was able to send that 26 miles, light up 200 light bulbs, and they can't really determine how he did it, because it's like it says, 2/3 of the schematics of how he did it was never written down on paper. It was in his mind. That's powerful. Very much so. But it's also the things that he did that aren't talked about, or that haven't been reported publicly. I know that his assistant talked about a lot that he did, and that I don't know, but the movie The Prestige, Tesla builds this some kind of a crate device that you just have to see the movie, and it is amazing. It is amazing, and it will blow your mind. So be sure and check that movie out, The Prestige. Okay, Tesla's father was a minister, was a priest, and his mother was very spiritual too. So he came from a very spiritual household. Although he said that where he gained his knowledge and his intelligence was from the core of the universe. He said that there was a storehouse, there was a core of knowledge at the core of the universe, and he said that he had just begun to, he just found it, or he just discovered it, and had yet to begin to delve into it or whatever. And Now, there's a theory called the church Turing theory that at the heart of every galaxy, or the heart of every universe, is, believe it or not, a quantum computer. So is this what Tesla was talking about when he said that there's a storehouse of knowledge at the core of the universe, at the core, and he said that I haven't, yet discovered it. He says, but I know it's there, and so that's just that's amazing, because that theory, I mean that was made back in the I believe it was the 50s, maybe even the 40s, and it's like, wow. I mean, we're just now hearing about quantum computing as a reality, something that's that they're talking about actually taking place and being real and this and that. Matter of fact, there was an article today about IBM making a quantum computer, or a prototype. They're not there yet, thank God, of a quantum computer, and this is really shocking, because it's something that the church Turing theory says, is at the heart of every universe, and that's just that's amazing. That all these years later, now it's actually becoming a reality. Anyway, this says, of course, much like many other eccentric geniuses and diabolical masterminds, Tesla was also completely insane. I beg to differ. If you're completely insane, you're not going to be functioning so well. It says he was prone to nervous breakdowns, claimed to receive weird visions in the middle of the night, spoke to pigeons, and occasionally thought he was receiving electromagnetic signals from extraterrestrials on Mars. He was obsessive compulsive, hated round objects, human hair, jewelry, and anything that wasn't divided by 3. He was also asexual and celibate for his entire life. So, I mean, I've already said, talked about that in the beginning. So, I think that all of that together does not make him crazy. It does make him very different, and this is something that he says, and I quote, "The present is theirs. The future for which I really worked is mine." And I think that's pretty much the truth. But what are your opinions on someone like Tesla? Is that something that is genetic? Is that a product of nurture, or nature? I mean, is it something that a person's born with, or does it just happen? I don't know. I think that there's a difference that it changes for each person. Maybe, I don't know, but it's definitely interesting to think about. Think about what he said he was capable of, and died before he could actually put it to use, and then show the world something that they've never seen. Who knows? But so what constitutes genius? Because it's a person doesn't have to be have a certain IQ to be a genius. I mean, in my opinion, because that kind of intelligence is relative. I mean, depending on where you're at. Sure, I mean, if you're in your forte, if you're in your element, yeah, you're going to be the genius. If you're not in your element, and you're somewhere where you know absolutely nothing about your environment, what's around you, you're not going to be such a genius. So that is really something to think about. Anyway, is everyone still here in the chat? Zippy, Elaine, Mona. But yes, like I said, Tesla yesterday was the anniversary of his death, 1943, and he died alone. I mean, which is really sad. I mean, because he was seemingly alone most of his life anyway, and sure, I mean, he was famous and well known, and his name continues. But to die alone, that's just I mean, I was a funeral director for 20 years, and I've seen people that that they've died alone. There's not much really bothers me as far as that goes, because death is just a part of living. But when someone dies alone, I just it really it made me think each time what was I just put myself in their shoes. What was going through their minds, through their mind as they were taking their last breaths. I mean, it's just let me see. Zippy say, where is he buried? Let me check on that and make sure. I believe he's buried in Croatia or Serbia. But okay. No, he is buried in Ferncliff Cemetery, New York. Yes, Ferncliff Cemetery, New York. He is people that are basically on the same level. I Isaac Newton, as Elaine said, Stephen Hawking, Niels Bohr, Einstein, Edison. But many people say that out of all of them, out of everyone, Einstein, Niels Bohr, Oppenheimer, even Isaac Newton, that Tesla was the main, was probably the brightest out of all of them. And I think that because he was probably borderline, what many people would say crazy, I think that's what added to, that's what made him the best, is because it's been genetically proven that this is really scary, but that extreme intelligence, like genius level, and insanity, they pretty much run hand in hand. I mean, there's a fine line that between the two, and sometimes that line gives, and or it fluctuates. And so, oh wow, Zippy, that's cool. Say I found his name on the Ellis Island Manifest. It is cool. See, does it say the date? Does it give the date when on that manifest? Oh, okay, it's on Ancestry.com. Okay, very cool. So, and his assistant, in case any of you want to want to look up his assistant. I think his assistant wrote a book. Let's see. Let me find his name. His name was Alley, Alley. Let me find his first name. Okay, June 6th, 1884. Okay. Mr. Alley was his assistant. It just says Mr. Alley. It doesn't give his first name. Well, okay. I'm going to find out. Let's see. Well, it's not coming up. But he did have an assistant that was with him all the time, and they did many experiments, especially at Colorado Springs, and where Tesla could put large light bulbs in the ground. And this is in the movie The Prestige too. he would put light bulbs in the ground, and they would light up. Because he had obviously found a way to use the earth, or part of the earth, as he had described the North Pole as positive, the South Pole as negative, and was using the earth and resonating electricity through the earth from one pole back to the next, back to the other pole, and was using it like a battery. Like a literal battery, so So if the Earth is a battery, then what about the other planets that, like Mars, for example? Red clay, not a not a gas planet, but a planet like Earth. Could Mars be like that? I mean, could it have, or could every planet or celestial body? What about a star? I mean, if Tesla had have lived longer, and maybe in some of his writings he did explain, maybe it wasn't clearer, but maybe he was explaining things like that it's there's a lot of broken, well, it's not broken, but it's some highly intelligent people, possibly insane, but like I said, the two run hand in hand. When they describe something, they often describe it in language or in symbolism or metaphors, just almost like the dream language. It's like when you have a dream that that really wakes you up, and you can't sleep because you're trying to figure out what these seemingly insane things meant. Well, it's just like puzzle pieces. Number one, they all mean something, but it's not plain. So you have to use your reason, your logic to figure out what the hell they meant, and you have to put them in order because they're not in order. Dream interpretation. Thank you, Elaine. You say, have you seen the Tesla Universe website? I think so. There's quite a few websites as far as Tesla teachings and things like that, but yeah, like Solomon in the Bible. Exactly. And people say, well, I read that, and that's crazy. Well, absolutely right. Congratulations to you. You're right. It is crazy if you take it literally. But it's not talking about. It's not meant to be taken literally. Yeah, it's all symbolism. Um, and when you read it knowing that it is symbolism, that it is metaphorical, then you start to see the real truth, and that's where the power is. And I'm talking, yeah, it will open your eyes. It's amazing. It's amazing how the texts like the Bible and different holy texts like the Vedic text from, 6,000 years ago or whatever, describe the splitting of the atom and things like that, and radiation, and yeah. And thank you so much, Elaine, for mentioning Solomon in the Bible, because it talks about the yes, Sanskrits, yes. It talks about, there was this worm, it says, of all things. There was this worm that that could cut stone and make no noise cutting it, but it could cut stone basically like hot butter. I mean, just and that it was called a shamir, and that's what Solomon used to cut stones. And it says in the Bible that God said that when his temple was being built, he told David, King David, Solomon's father, said, when you build my temple, there shall not be the sound of hammers and chisels heard. So, okay, come again, it's like, okay, so how is that supposed to take place? Because you're saying that no sound of hammers or chisels will be heard, but you have to cut the stones. You have to shape the stones. No matter how good you are, you're not going to be able to construct any kind of temple or anything without some kind of noise, unless you're not working on a physical temple, unless it's all metaphorical, unless it's all symbolism, and the temple that's really being talked about is you yourself, your mind, your soul, your spirit. Could that be the reason why that there was not to be any sound of hammer or chisel? I think that might be the answer. Is that as long as you were trying to build a physical place, you were still in the dark. Let's face it. God said, "My dwelling will not be a place made with human hands." Okay, but then it turns right around and says that God said, build me a temple. Okay, well, if he said that his temple would not be made with human hands, what does that tell you? He wasn't talking about a physical temple. It's not physical. It's you. It's each person. Solomon's temple is your mind, your soul, your spirit. You, on every level. And when you take Solomon's temple and you look at the storage
bins, the granaries. When you look at the outer court, the inner court, the Holy of Holies, there are 7 different steps, 7 different levels in Solomon's temple. Just like there's 7 different bodily functions, your nervous system, your digestive system, your respiratory system, circulatory system. It's all you. Solomon's temple is a description of you. Heart, mind, soul, body, everything. That's why that there's no sound of human hands or hammers or chisels. And see, this is something that, Tesla and Einstein, that they understood, is they knew when they were reading these, Sanskrit text about the flying ships and everything, or the wars in the heavens, and the intense hatred of certain Vedic gods and goddesses that could burn a man, miles away. That it wasn't a hatred or this or that. It was, it was nuclear. And so, okay, Zippy, as far as Solomon's temple, I can send you some information on that. That would be a series, and you will see why when I send you. I will send you some information on that right after we get through here, which is the next few minutes. Yeah, because it's very, very in depth as far as what the Bible says, and people are saying, well, when Solomon's temple is rebuilt, when the third temple is rebuilt, that's just, in my opinion, that's people taking it literally. When, correct me if I'm wrong, or, say something if you see, if you see something wrong in my reasoning. But when it says plainly that God says, my dwelling will not be in any temple building made by human hands. But then he turns right around and tells David to build his temple, but to build it without the sound of hammers and chisels. Okay, why wouldn't he just say, hey, build my temple? Why does he have to throw in there without the sound of chisels and hammers? Because that is telling everyone with ears to hear, that with ears to hear, eyes to see. I'm not talking about physical. It's talking about those who understand what's being said, that it is not a literal building or temple. It is the person. The great work is you yourself. And but I will send you some information on that, and some graphs, some pictures, it kind of explain what that's talking about. And also, and I don't mean to get religious, which I'm not. I'm just speaking truth. Spirituality. in the book of Revelation, it talks about the 24 elders. It talks about the 24 elders, 12 and 12, and on the sure, yeah, that's fine. Or I can send it to you on Messenger, whichever you want. But in the book of Revelation, it talks about the 24 elders, and it says that this and that, and well, when you look at the human brain, when you look at the spinal cord, the spinal column has 32 vertebrae. 33 when you include the sacrum, which is the sanctum, it's the base, 33. Jesus lived 33 years. Okay? Well, the brain stem goes up through this, and I forget what the name of it is, but even the names of the bones are very telling. The brainstem goes through, and where it goes through, there's a bone or a nerve on the right side and a nerve on the left side, and right and left, And I forget what the name of it is, but it's very telling. It's basically, there's two thieves, one on the right, one on the left. What do you have? You have the vertebrae, the spinal column. What's the spinal column? Well, it's the spinal fluid. The river of life goes up. Jesus died at 33, between two thieves. Okay, well, then it says in the book of Revelation that there's 24 elders. Well, guess what's around that where that brainstem goes through up into the head? There's 12 cranial nerves on each side. There's your 24 elders. Now, that's not to say that that's just symbolism. It could be the law of double reference. It could be that they're talking about the nerves. They're talking about these two large nerves, vagus nerves, I believe, on each side. Don't hold me to that. And also talking about real elders and the two real thieves, if that's true. But it's certainly something to look into. And like I said, I will send you those the diagrams that I have. They're in color, and I've just downloaded them from the internet, and it's really eye-opening as far as what is the Ark of the Covenant. It's think more of it like Ark, A-R-C, instead of A-R-K. Electrical arc that spans, that arcs over your brain, maybe connecting the right brain and the left brain. And your brain has the called the Tellus Mercurus, I believe. Like I said, don't hold me to that. But that Tellus Mercurus literally means mercy seat in your brain. So, where was the blood applied in the Holy of Holies? The Ark of the Covenant? On the mercy seat. To atone for, as if you say, what about all the Indiana Jones movies? Not real artifacts being chased. Well, like I said, it could be the law of, double reference. I personally believe that that there is a real Ark of the Covenant, because according to the dimensions given for its building in the Bible, the king's coffer in the Great Pyramid matches exactly those dimensions, believe it or not. Yeah. Oh, I'm just full of surprises. Yeah, the king's coffer, the granite coffer in the king's chamber, is exactly the precise dimensions that is that the Bible describes God giving Moses, build me an ark. And I firmly believe that that's where the ark was placed. And if you look that up, if you look up the king's coffer, it's split. Something split it. Split the corner open. And, go figure, but... And then also you have to remember the fact that Moses was the one that led the Israelites out of Egypt, out of bondage. So where did they go? Well, through the desert. And, also in the book of Isaiah, the Great Pyramid is it's just referenced just like nobody's business. Matter of fact, this is may not be as far as the relationship aspect, but hey, well, that's fine. We're at the 2-hour mark anyway, so let's see. Okay. All right. Isaiah chapter 19. It says, let's see. It says, on that day there shall be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt. And it goes on to describe how it stands out and it shines. And this was before the limestone fell away. Okay. Random question as what is 777? Well, that gets into a lot of debate. Numerology. It can be a lot of different things. Some people say that it's Christ. Some people say that 888 is Christ, and but that's something that I can talk to you about too. Maybe we'll do like a numerology show on the Texas podcast. Symbolism, things like that will that will bring a lot of light to questions like that, because there's a lot of information there. What is 333? 555? Yes, absolutely. That's what Elaine said, that you're coming here. So, yes. But anyway, we're past the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to call it a night here, and we will pick up. Let's see. The Texas podcast will be tomorrow night, and then as far as live relationship advice, maybe Thursday, maybe Sunday. I don't know yet, but we will work that out and let everyone know. But anyway, thank you for that, Zippy, for your topics that you, because I can certainly use those for the Texas podcast. And that's as easy as it is. Is just, let me know what you're thinking, and then because I have notes and research just piled up, but I don't know what you want to hear. So it's just kind of like I'm just taking a chance, on choosing topics. But when someone like Zippy says, "Hey, this is what I want to know," well, great. I mean, you saved me a lot of time, and I just go and pull it and do it. So yeah, that's great. But anyway, Zippy, I will get you. I will send you those diagrams through Messenger. Anyway, love and light to you all. Love you all. Good night from Texas. See you next time.